There's a hill coming up. I don't have the leg strength to dismount. So here I want to try and see if I can catch myself. Oh God.
Well, this is me in the middle of Western Michigan, about 18 miles deep into a 30-mile race on my unicycle. Why? Well, the Dirty 30. Now, the Dirty 30 is traditionally a bicycle race in Saranac, Michigan, near Grand Rapids. They have different categories like the Unclean 16, the Dirty 30, the Filthy 50, and so on. They also have different age and implement categories, and one category is the 30-mile portion on a unicycle. It's dirty because it's on gravel terrain. Because we're in the Midwest, I figured it wouldn't really be hilly, but there are 4 significant hills on the course and a lot more sprinkled throughout. One of the biggest ones is right in the beginning, and another big one is right towards the end. And I'm looking at a max grade of close to 12% on the final one, so that'll be a pain. When I was in Chicago, I went on a few training rides with some buddies who were preparing for this race last year, and let me tell you, I am not cut out for distance. In college, I did track and field, and distance was one of my better events, if you can call it that. But since that time, I gained 40 to 50 pounds, or about 20 kilograms, and have just been lifting weights and doing other forms of anaerobic training, so 3+ hours of riding is no longer in my current wheelhouse. So, I need to get to training. But first, I need an appropriate unicycle. I currently have a fleet of unicycles, a couple 20-inchers that I actually ride, my 27.5 Oracle, and my unicycles that I use for my beginner community classes. What I need though is a 36-inch unicycle. Those unicycles are for road touring, and since unicycles don't have gears, the biggest bang for your buck is a 36er. For every rotation of the wheel, you go a certain distance. On my biggest unicycle, 27.5 inches, every crank cycle brings me about 7.5 feet or about 2.2 meters. But on a 36-incher, one crank cycle will get me about 9.5 feet or just shy of 3 meters. About 30% more distance per cycle. That means on my 27.5-incher, at the 10-mile marker with the same number of crank rotations, the 36-incher will be about 3 miles or roughly 20 minutes ahead. Over the course of the race, this may save me an hour of work. So I'm going to need a big wheel, and I'll probably need handlebars. I know very little about distance riding, but I know I'm going to want something to rest on, so handlebars are probably required. My knowledge of distance riding, though, ends with whether or not brakes are required. I'm thinking they'll be helpful, especially because there's significant downhill at parts. I know I have a kit from an old mountain bike, so I bought an adapter to pop these on my new unicycle. I went with the Nimbus Night Fox because I thought I was going to sit lower on the unicycle, which I'm actually not. But it was fairly cheap, it came with its own handlebar set, and it was brake compatible. And those were the 3 big things: big wheel, handlebars, and brakes. I did also go with a 125mm crank set, which a few other riders from a Facebook interest group recommended. It was a good balance between speed and being able to efficiently climb hills, but it'll definitely take some getting used to. Oh, did I mention my training starts in winter with snow?
My heart rages around like an ocean in my head, because there are so many things that I left unsaid.
After a few rides, my brake housing was getting in the way too much, so I decided to trim the housing, but that didn't go over too well. I took it to a bike shop so it can be done properly, but that put my unicycle out of commission for a few weeks since the bike shop was backed up. I also was on vacation for a week or so leading up to the race, but I did get a little bit of training in there. When we finally got back to the US late on the 16th, I had just 2 days to rest up and acclimate before the actual race day. Good morning, Pearl. What you doing there? The day of the race, I packed my bag, loaded the unis, and drove out to Saranac with my buddy Ty from the Chicago area. And he did it last year, so he had some cautionary tales. So what sucks about this 30-mile race?
Okay, so besides us needing to go 30 miles on a unicycle, what really sucks is the way the road is shaped on most of the dirt roads out there is shaped like a big curve on top. Unless you're riding on the very center of the road,
Right.
You have to lean away from the way the road is curving. But when you're tired and you need to sit into the saddle a little bit more, it really starts to rub on the inside of your leg, which is very uncomfortable by mile 30.
I'm not looking forward to that.
Which sides of the road just to make use of the other leg.
Oh.
Which is pushing a lot harder to try to keep yourself in a straight line.
We got there fairly early and found the other 3 unicyclists. Although this is mainly a bike race, there were 5 total unicyclists doing the 30 miles, not counting the other similar wheel-to-person ratio categories. But before long, it was time to go.
Time?
Yeah, it's time.
Okay.
Putting ourselves in the back was probably the best idea amongst all the bikers. I am not too confident I'm ready. My longest ride wasn't even 10 miles, so I'm hoping optimism and the crowd will get me through this.
Wait, that was the gun? Oh, well, okay, all right, great. Here we go.
Not even a few minutes into the race, Kevin, Doug, and Alex took off. And about 3 seconds later, so did Ty. And I was a pack of one person and one wheel. But then came my worst nightmare. Compliments.
Good boy.
Try my best. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Good luck, guys.
As someone who can't take a compliment, I had my first fall of the race within the onslaught of encouragement. I dragged my unicycle out of the way and waited for a safe time to mount.
This terrain is so hard to ride on. It's like rubbly and wet and dirty. Oh my God, the wind is brutal.
Although the compliments from other riders were scarce now, Kelly was waiting ahead and saw all 4 other riders right before the 13-mile marker.
Nice! Going left. Oh, hey! Alex! Woo! Nice! Keep going.
And then there was me.
Woo! Do you need water?
It's so easy.
Go, baby! Woo!
I lied. This isn't easy. It's very hard. My legs are so pumped.
It got to the point where certain hills were not even worth attempting. With over half the race to go, making sure I had energy and strength to finish was the priority.
Cows.
After pushing through 16 miles, I actually met up with one of the other 4 unicyclists finally. Except he was at the 24-mile marker and going the other way, whereas I still had to do a 7-ish mile loop to catch him. He was truly going 50% faster than I was. But there were just times I had to stop.
Oh, my legs. This is brutal.
Go, baby, go!
Kelly, so hard.
You can do it! You're almost done!
But I wasn't almost done. That turn was the turn I saw Kevin at roughly 7 miles ago. so that means I just had over 6 miles left. Plus, it included this, the final hill called Ivan the Terrible. Probably because he was on Ivan Street, but also because he was terrible. At a max grade of almost 13%, I wasn't even going to attempt it in my condition.
If I stand up, my legs just spasm. Let's see if I can try. Oh, God. Oh, okay. Let's try to move.
Even walking up the hill was brutal. And because I was hearing, "You're almost there," for the past 4 miles, I had no idea how much I had to go or even if the race ended at all. But in fact, the race truly did end. It's cliche to say I truly didn't think I was going to finish, but I truly didn't think I was going to finish. What else are you supposed to think when your legs are actively seizing and you're stuck out in the middle of a random farm in Michigan? Regardless, the other unicyclists really did crush it, and Kelly stuck it out the whole 4+ hours of me struggling, which resulted in just bending over to pick up my shirt to be a Herculean effort. For as hungry as I was, I didn't eat much, and I successfully got in and out of my chair and out of the restaurant without any spasms. So today's about 3 days after the race, and I wanted to talk about 4 big takeaways. So if you're getting into distance riding, you can have some perspective, and if you're already doing distance riding, you can be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. The first is obviously quad cramping. The day of and the day after, I needed a little help getting around, up and down stairs, out of the chair and stuff. Today it's fine, but what happened during the race is when I would get off the unicycle after riding for a while, my quads would just spasm if my knees were fully locked out. Essentially, I was just extending one knee to walk, and then this quad would cramp, and then I would bend it and step at this other one, and then this one would cramp. And then I would keep walking, cramping until I got to the side of the road where I could just squat down or drop to my knees to bend my knees, so to relieve some of that cramping. And then I had to give my legs some time to rest before I can try to stand up again. I don't know if that was due to a lack of nutrition, lack of proper training, or both, but next time I'm definitely gonna overestimate the amount of training I need just so that doesn't happen again. The next was mounting. It was really hard to mount with exhausted legs. So if I needed a break from riding, I would have to get off, but I would inevitably have to get back on, which was really, really difficult. I really just try to focus on technique and being as efficient as possible, but inevitably my foot wouldn't land on the pedal exactly the way I wanted it, and sometimes it would land on the inside, which potentially allowed the crank to catch my toe on the upstroke, and then I would just fall over and dismount and have to do it all over again. So trying to reposition my foot while riding became really frustrating and really difficult. So I might recommend getting your mounting and your accurate foot placement really dialed in if you're gonna try something like this. The third thing that was the issue was the terrain, and I know it's not a big deal because it was just small bumps and small potholes and you can just kind of ride over them. But after 15, 20 miles and your legs are exhausted and you're worried about other riders and cars and trying to balance and the wind, it really became an issue. I found myself fighting to stay up more times than I'd like to admit. It was really a balancing act to fight to stay on for as long as you can so you didn't have to like dismount or lose speed, but not too long for when you did get off, your quads would start cramping again. Lastly, there's about 1,000 bikers out there all giving me compliments, and I cannot take a compliment that well. There was a period in my life that I didn't want to go out and unicycle in public because I didn't want to draw attention to myself. But being able to do this race was encouraging, both from the other riders and being able to not have as much social guilt from such positive feedback as maybe I once would. If you're interested in the Dirty 30 gravel grinder on a unicycle or otherwise, they have distances from 6 miles for kids and 100 miles for those that need time away from their kids. I'll put a link to the website in the description. Thank you all for watching my introduction to distance unicycling and the errors and experiences I've had. I'm of the mindset that most people can benefit from getting humbled now and again, and this was a great event to humble me. Let me know in the comments if you ever tried something like this, and consider subscribing if you want more unicycle content. Again, thank you for watching, and good luck to all you distance riders out there.
So hard. You got it, baby. Keep going. Okay. Get it.
Good luck, guys. Oh, I like your jackets. Your uniforms are great.